Welcome to the Vector Garden YouTube channel. In this video, we're going to take a look at how to create decorated 3D objects. There are two ways to make them, actually. And maybe you have tried that and you have run into issues when you do that with objects that have gradients. So I've got this object and the gradient is a freeform gradient. And when you then go to 3D and materials, 3D classic, and extrude and bevel this, and let's make that longer, then you see that somehow does not work. And even when clicking OK, so this does not work. But also with just a linear gradient, when we do the same and extrude and bevel that, and this time I'm making it shorter, then you see that gets gray on the edge. The gradient is rasterized and it doesn't continue along the edge because Illustrator cannot do that. Let's cancel that. So the way to get your gradient or other decoration onto the 3D object is to first make a symbol and then apply the effect to a dummy object and then apply that symbol. So what you have to do is get the symbols panel and then make that symbol. And first of all, in this case, I need to remove that effect in the appearance panel and then make that symbol, and then with a dummy object, I can create the cylinder and then apply that gradient to it as a mapping. There's another reason for working like that, and I'm going to show this with this object. So there's no gradient at all in this poker chip design, but still it makes a lot of sense to not directly extrude that, but to create the symbol and then apply the symbol to the 3D object. I'm going to use this object here for the demonstration. I have prepared that. So let's first make a copy of it so that we can later compare it to this object. And I'm going to apply effect, extrude and bevel. And you see it has been extruded. It has already been rotated slightly so that you can see some of that edge. And the blend steps are set to 2, which is just a little. And also we have draw hidden faces turned off. Let's go to OK. And let's take a look at the first problem you could run into when you have the base object not prepared in a certain way. For comparison, let's move them here closer together. And I'm going to select this white object and let's turn that in blue. And let's take it and move it apart. And you see there are breaks in it where the red objects are. For comparison, let's take this green here and move that. And you see at this places here, there are duplicate paths. Let's see what that causes. Now, I haven't mentioned it, and let's mention it. These objects are all grouped. So this is one group. And now let's go to Effect, Extrude and Bevel. And there it is. And you see, along these edges, we are running into problems because of those objects at the edge. So here we have the warning that there are self-intersections of paths, and that causes this. There's no way to get that run correctly. So you will always have some issues with those spaces. Let's go to OK. For comparison, let's make another one, and let's go to Effect, Extrude and Bevel, and then let's map the artwork. So I'm going to map this one to the front, and let's go to the edge and map the edge like this. If you want to know how this has been built, then I will link the movie in the description of this video. Let's scale to fit this here, and let's shade this, of course. And again, the blend steps are set to 2 and draw hidden faces is turned off, like this. So we have the same view in both cases, and let's just make duplicates. And for these duplicates, I'm going to expand the appearance. Expanding the appearance will render those objects as paths. So when we now go into outline view, then you see this is actually what is visible on the artboard, and this is the base object because the effect is just calculated every time Illustrator needs to show that. But all the time it needs to calculate this and draw this on the screen, it actually handles these paths here. And you can already see at the bottom, this is way more complicated than that one at the top where we map the symbols. So although we turned off to render invisible objects, Illustrator actually did that. So all these objects in there, these edges are invisible, but still Illustrator rendered them. So let's take a look at that and how many paths there are. So let's go to Window and Document Info, and there you see this says 134 paths, and the other one has 167. So there's a difference. And you will notice that even more the more of these chips you have in your design. So mapping your artwork as a symbol on the art reduces the work Illustrator has to do when rendering the screen.